we're going to take a look at Kodu Game Lab and make a pretty simple game. In the game, what's going to happen is that saucer is going to fly around and it's going to drop green apples. Our goal is to go around and collect as many of those apples as we can in the 30-second time frame. Let's get started. So when you load up Kodu, you're going to come to the welcome screen, and the creator, you're going to have to enter your name and your PIN number. And that depends on largely what you picked. After that, you're going to get this menu. If you've already got levels, you can just say load world. For the purposes of this tutorial, though, we're just going to go to new world. And I'm going to start with just a blank slate. So I think what I want to do first, I'm going to take a look at these landscaping tools down here. Okay, so down here at the bottom of the screen, you can see one that looks like a paintbrush, and that will add more. Notice this little icon up here. This will let you make those different colors. So like if you're interested in lava, and I'm scrolling through those with my left and right arrow buttons on the keyboard. You can get all kinds of different options. For now, I'm going to leave it the way it is. You notice my icon here, or not my icon, but my kind of my brush size. If I left click, that will allow me to add. Also, while I'm there, I can left arrow. Notice how the brush size gets smaller. If I continue to press the right arrow, notice how it gets bigger. Now, this is a pretty simple game, so we're going to make just a nice rectangular playing area. So I'm going to make a pretty big rectangle, and I'm done with that part. Now, I think what I'll do is I'll raise the terrain a little bit so you can kind of see where I'm going down here. This is the raise and lower terrain. So I'll click that in. I'm going to use my my left arrow and decrease the size of that just a little bit. And I'm going to create hills up in the corner. Now, I do want to be careful because eventually what I think I'd like to do is have characters in the game that roll. As it is right now, if they ran into, I don't know, say like right in there, that's going to cause a sticking point. So I'm going to go next door here, and this will allow me to smooth things out. And one thing that'll really help is to make the brush size a little bit bigger. Now, if I've raised it and I want to lower, I can right click and it'll take it down. Okay, I'll go over here to smooth. And what I'm going to do is just kind of work on getting these to where it's more of a rolling hills rather than a jagged kind of Minecraft thing going on there. And now to rotate the screen, now I'm using the wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out. But to rotate, if I go down here to the hand, this is the camera, I can right click and it will allow me to rotate. I can kind of see other areas, and I'll go back into that smooth and kind of smooth out the areas I couldn't see from the previous angle. So I've got the terrain kind of the way I want. I'm going to put in my main character now. So I'm going to go to this Kodu here. And what I've got to do is anywhere on the screen, I just need to click. So I've clicked the Kodu. Now I'm going to click and choose the character I want. Now, one thing to note, if you're going to make a game that shoots, can't use the rover because it won't shoot. For this one, I'm thinking instead of the Kodu this time, I'm going to go down here to this batch because I want something that rolls, and I'm going to pick the cycle. So that's going to be me this time. So I'll click that cycle in. If I want to change its color, I move my mouse and just kind of hover over that. Notice the colors at the top show up. I can use my left and right arrows and change the color of that character. Once you find what you want, you can just kind of move the mouse. I'm still in object mode, and now I'm going to right click on my character, and I'm going to say program. What I would like to do is when I press the arrows on my keyboard, it moves in those directions. So I'm going to say when and click that plus sign and keyboard. So when I press something on the keyboard, hit this plus sign again, and this time I'm going to choose arrows. So left, right, up, and down. When I press those arrows, I want it to do, so I'm clicking the plus sign by do. And I'm just going to say move. All right, now I'll press escape to get out of this mode. And I can press the play button down here, and I can kind of test things out. So I'm going to press play. I'm moving the arrows on my keyboard, And we're moving around pretty good. It's a little slow for me, so I'll show you how to fix that as well. So I'm going to press escape to get back into edit mode. See how the menu popped up at the bottom. Now, in order to edit this, I have to be in object mode. So I got to click on that Kodu icon. I'll right click on my character. This time, instead of program, let's look at some other options. There's change settings, which is where we're about to go. There's also change size, change height. So I think the size is good for me, but if you wanted to click it, just say change size, and you can make them bigger or smaller. Also, note over here this little temperature icon. So what you're looking at over here, this is kind of how full your game is. This thing will start turning red, and eventually, once it fills up, your game's going to really have a lot of lag just because there's a whole lot happening in the game. So that's just kind of a nice little indicator of how your game's progressing. And the reason I bring that up now, though, is because if you have a lot of objects in your game, that's going to fill up. You want to kind of keep an eye on that. All right, so I'm going to right click again on my main character. This time I'm going to say change settings. And for speed, I'm going to crank all these all the way up. I'm going to make him go a lot faster than what he was going. I'll go down one more. And you can scroll down through here. There are a ton of things. As you're making a game, you may even want to put it on invulnerable. That might be very helpful as you're testing things. And there's other stuff in here. One thing I want to talk about is friction. If this friction is high, this character will stop really easy. If the friction is really low, the character will kind of continue rolling after you let your finger off the keys. That might be something you want to play around with. For now, I'm going to press escape. I can either press play down here, or I can press escape. And now I'm going to use my arrow keys, and I'm moving much quicker in my game. Much, much quicker. That's better for me. I'm going to press escape. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some other objects in the game. And for this, I'm just going to make objects that don't really move. More like trees and rocks, okay? So I'm going to go to objects. Click that in. Now I'm going to click anywhere on the on the playing area. And I'm going to go to trees. I'm just going to put a few trees in. And now I think I'll even put a couple rocks in. So here's rocks up here. That rock is kind of small, so I'm going to right click on it. Notice I'm still in object mode. I'm going to right click and just say change size. I'm going to make that pretty big. Now what I can do is I can right click on that rock and say copy. And now I can right click out here in the area somewhere, right click and say paste. If I don't like where I put it, I can left click it and kind of drag it to the location I want it to be. Now if I want to maneuver around, right, here's that hand. So I click the hand in and kind of hold my right mouse button down, and I can see where I'm at better. I think I'm going to bunch these up. So I'm going to go back to object mode, click on this, and just kind of scoot them all together. All right, so for now, I've got a good looking game. I'm going to go ahead and press play. And remember, if I want to see a different view, right click and I can change the camera angle of the game, okay? So right now, I'm just kind of looking to see how things are going to behave. Now notice as my character runs into those rocks, it moves them a little bit. That's okay. That would actually, I guess, normally happen. Okay. So I'm good with where I'm at. I'm going to press escape. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to take and put another character in the game. Okay, so I'm going to go to objects mode here and just click somewhere on there. I think what I'd like to do is have some sort of flying object. So let's take a look. Let's take a look where we found our cycle. There's several things that we could use. There's the blimp, a jet, a balloon. Let's see. And then we've got other things. So I encourage you to look at these. There are some things that need to be in water, and most of these are that. And there's also a Kodu up here. Let's check that Kodu out. And let's put a Kodu in the game. So you notice it kind of hovers. Typically, people use this as their main character. So I'm gonna make this Kodu. Let's make, like I said, just hover your mouse over it, and then you can go to the color you want it to be. Now I'm in objects mode, so I'm gonna right click on it and say, let's program it. So when, and we're gonna say when it sees, and I'll hit the plus again, and just say anything. So when it sees anything, I want it to move. Okay, we'll press escape here, and let's press play and see what happens. Okay, it's moving a little slow, so if we want, we could escape and get into edit mode. Make sure we're in objects. We can right click on that and say, you know what, let's change its settings as well. And we could make it go just a little bit quicker if we want. We could make it go really fast. We could make it go really slow. It just depends on what we want it to do. It's all up to us, right? We have complete control of this thing. All right, so I'm going to hit escape again. I always like to test things. Zooming out. Now you can see the Kodu is moving much quicker. This is good. Now at this point, the Kodu can get stuck in things. It can get caught in trees and bump into rocks and everything else. Kodus will typically fly over it though. So I'm going to hit escape and go back into edit mode. What I'd like to do to avoid that is create a path for the Kodu to follow. So I'm going to rotate this by using my right mouse button, and I kind of want to get a bird's eye view of it. Something like this. And notice I'm in that hand mode, right? All right, now I'm going to go to the path. So here it is. I'm just going to draw the particular path that I want this Kodu to follow. Now, Kodu can go over things, so I can do it like that. If I want to rejoin it, just kind of go to the end and click it. It'll connect. So we've got a path. We've got to program that Kodu to follow the path, though. And here's how that gets done. So I'm in edit mode. I'm gonna right click, make sure you're in objects. Then I'm gonna right click on the Kodu and say program. So we've got it to move. But I'm going to go a little further here. I'll hit this plus sign. And I'm going to say on path. On path. And I'll click the plus sign again. And this is where I choose what path. So if we have multiple paths in the game, so I'll click path colors. And that one was green. So now what it should do is move on the green path. So I'm going to hit escape and let's watch. Now we can still move as well. Now notice that Kodu got stuck a little bit there in the rocks. So we may want to adjust that if we go back into the edit mode. Right now, let's make a little more action in this game. So let's add some scoring. I need to figure out how I want to do that scoring. So what I think I'm going to do is have the Kodu drop some stars. All right, so let's do that. Make sure you're in object mode. Let's right click. Let's right click on the Kodu and say program. So I'm going to go to line 2. I'm going to say when. And I'll put a timer on. So when, and I'm going to say, let's say every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds, I want you to, and we'll go to do. I'm going to go to actions. So I want you to create. So I went to actions and said create. And we'll click the plus button again. Well, what do I want it to create? Well, we said stars, so there's a star. We'll say star. And then let's go to the plus button. We can actually tell it what color of star we want. And I think that's helpful because later down the road, you may want to make it where if you get certain color stars, you get points. If you hit other colors of stars, you lose points. That's up to you, right? I'm going to click it. For right now, I'm keeping everything simple, so I'll just say green stars. Right? So every 3 seconds, it's going to drop a green star. Let's escape, and let's check it out. Press escape again, and let's see what happens here. So there goes our Kodu. Oh, it dropped a star, just like we said. Now, some of those, remember, they can go anywhere once it bounces off. Now, I ran into it and nothing happened. And we'll take care of that in just a minute. But it's dropping those stars like we said. Every 3 seconds, it's dropping a star. let's talk about what to do next. I think what I want to have happen is every time I collect one of those stars, I want to get 5 points. So let's see how to do that. Because that's me, I want to make sure I'm in object mode, and I'm going to right click on my main character over here. And I'll say program. So I'll go to when on line 2. When I bump, and then we'll say objects, and we're looking for the star. Let's check more here. There's the star. So when I bump into the star, what do I want to have happen? Let's go to do, and we'll say eat. And it. So we're just going to eat it. All right, let's hit escape and see what happens. So what should happen now is when I run into one of these stars, it's going to disappear. See if I can manage this. Okay, so I ran into that one. That star is no longer on the board. Ran into that one. It's no longer on the board. But why don't we just go ahead and add here? Let's get some points. I'll go back over to my person, to my main character. I'm going to right click him and say program. I'm going to go to line 3. So now I'm going to say when, bumped, and I'm going to use star. So I can go back here to objects. Remember, it was under more, and there's stars. And I need to specify the color too when I bump into a green star. Then I'm going to go to do. I'm going to go to this game setting here. So I'll click game. And this is where I can add score, subtract score. So in this case, I want 5 points for every one I get. So I'm going to hit the plus score. So I'm going to, every time I bump into one of these, I'm going to add, and then I'll click this, click the plus sign. And this gives you an option. What color do you want the score to show up on your screen? So I'm going to keep, I think I'll turn this to be yellow so that I can see it better. So add a yellow font. Now I'll go up here to points. Then I'm going to choose what value do I get. And we said 5 points, so there it is. So now when I bump into any green star, I'm going to get 5 points. Let's check it out and see if it works. So you can see the 5 jump up on the screen, and if you look really good, over here in the top right corner, you see that it got 10 points for me. Now remember, this game is going to continue like this forever because we haven't told it to stop ever. So now we at least have a point to the game though, right? One element that can always add effects to the game is time. So let's hit escape and go back into edit mode. And this is, we're going to associate this with our main character as well. I'm going to right click on him. I'm going to say program. And I'm going to go down here and say when, and I'll say timer. And we'll go to the plus sign. And I can go to more, because right now it only goes up to 10 seconds. I'll go to more and say, you know what, let's do 30 seconds. For the video, I'm going to make it just say 20 though, so it'll be observable. So after 20 seconds, what do I want it to do? I'm going to say, well, plus, and I'll go to game, and I'll say end. So end the game. After 20 seconds, it's going to end the game. So that's what it looks like. Timer for 20 seconds and then end the game. I'm going to hit escape and go out to the game and let's play. So we have 20 seconds here to do whatever we need to do. You can see at the end of 20 seconds, the game is ended. I can also tell up here I got a total of 10 points. Not very good at my own game. Then I've got these options to go back to my home menu, to edit, to restart the world. So So if I press enter, I get to play again. I'm going to press escape to get back into edit mode. Now, there are other things, of course, we can do here. There's a lot more involvement that we can have with the game. But this should get you a basic game. From here, you want to go to home and just say save my world. It always is a good idea. You know, you want to give it a nice name. And then the description is helpful too. After you've given a description, go ahead and click save. And from there, you can go to home and say exit. And say quit Kodu.